Like, it's crazy that we have an actual human. Like, she's ours and she's here. And I'm like, we just take her home now. And that's what it's wild. I'm good. I mean, I'm exhausted. The tired thing is no joke for sure. But again, it's like something that kind of, it doesn't really matter. I was telling like some of like my glam team and everyone today about, I don't know if it was, time's very elusive. So it was like maybe a day and a half ago. And Luke and I kind of had the system down and we're like, okay, so she's napping. When she gets up, we have the bottle ready here. We have this like station and we're like the bottle, here's her like little like gassy medicine and the diapers are ready and all the stations are good to go. And Luke goes, what are they talking about? This is hard. Like, we got this. And we high-fived. And then last night, she like babies do, like she's like trying to tell us what she wants. We're figuring out what the cries mean. And we're both like, oh my God, what do we do? What the hell do we do? Oh my God, oh my God. So it's like, don't count your chickens before they hatch. But it's all still, it's not like annoying. It's frustrating because you don't want her to be upset and you don't know how to fix it fast enough. But I mean, I'm literally sleeping 2 hours a night and it just doesn't matter. I'm fine. I mean, honestly, I mean, the dogs are pretty great. Just sleep. Yeah, Luke goes sleep. Yeah, it's really just the sleep thing because newborns, like we're realizing and figuring out it's like what cluster feeding means and like she sleeps for this many hours and then immediately needs to eat, or does she need to change? What do her cries mean? And how to function on literally zero sleep. I mean, we considered help, like we considered hiring help. We're like, do we do the night nurse thing? A lot of my girlfriends, like from the show, were so gracious and like handing us like, oh, here's this phone number and here's some people we've used. And we decided ultimately it was really Luke's kind of pushing me to say, like, I think we can do this by ourselves. So why don't we just try for a couple of weeks? And if we end up needing a night nurse or something like that, then we'll try that out. And I'm really happy that we didn't. I mean, if so far, we do have a doula who's a really good friend of mine that I've known for over a decade. So I feel really comfortable, but I'm so protective that I don't know how I'd feel about like a stranger in my house and just like handing my baby over because that's just my personality. But like kudos to however everyone does their own thing. But I think, yeah, just functioning on no sleep and just trying to remember things. We share, even though we're like in the same house and like no one's ever here, we share like a note on our iPhones only at nighttime where it's like he's taking a nap, I'm awake, and it's like, okay, 4 a.m. diaper and feed. And then he wakes up and adds in whatever is going on with him. Oh my God. I mean, every single moment is different. And I mean, she's still really little, and I'm not taking any of that for granted. Like, of course, I'm so excited for when she's more aware and we can play a little bit more and things like that. But I just love, like, she opens her eyes for longer than 2 minutes, and it's so exciting. And we're showing her like contrast cards, and she's like more aware of that. She's more aware of the dogs and like their faces because she can't see a whole lot right now. But just like those little tiny things are just the biggest deal right now. I mean, navigating it is a minute by minute, like day by day thing. And Luke's been amazing at just kind of following my lead because like we have this, I printed out some things on the fridge that are like on the fridge before we even gave birth, or I gave birth, before we had a baby, that was like, we found helpful things I like saw on social media or things my friends told me or lists that I saw on like Pinterest where it's like, we have to be a team and it can't be us versus each other. And it has to be like us versus the problem was a really great piece of advice that a girlfriend gave me. And so that's what I appreciate the most about Luke. Like he's the most hands-on dad. He's diaper duty. He's like, Kristen, you need to nap. I have the baby. I have full trust. And he has full trust in me that we don't really know what we're doing, but like we know what we're doing in a way. Last night I woke up and he took a nap, and I was like all of a sudden realizing that my boobs were exploding and I'm like covered in milk and she's screaming and crying and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? But it doesn't make it suck. It's just kind of like, okay, well, that was kind of the moment that we're like, we high-fived and thought we had it. And there's like the universe going, ha ha ha, nice try. Like, we're going to throw you some curveballs. The thing that I've noticed that I'm like, am I really nesting or am I trying to stay really busy? So whenever she takes a nap, especially during the day. I have a really hard time sitting still, and napping during the day just like isn't my thing. I can do laundry, I can clean this, I can feed the dogs, I can do a million other things, or I can work on James May. There's just like a million things I could do with my time instead of sitting still. So I had to kind of reel that in and think about why I wasn't sitting still, or why am I not choosing to nap? And I was like, oh my gosh, it's because I'm so terrified of postpartum depression, because I have anxiety. I have struggled with depression in the past. It's something I've talked to my psychiatrist about right when I got pregnant. And so I realized yesterday that I've been so afraid of that happening to me, kind of been catching me off guard, that I've chosen to not sit still at all. And I'm like, okay, that's not really going to work. Like, I'm going to have to sit with my feelings, and I'm going to have to allow the emotions and know that it is hormonal and it is temporary and it's going to be okay. Yeah. I mean, not to say I'm not going to struggle with it still, but just being aware of it, I think is really helpful. And I'm just really grateful, especially having Nia has been the most helpful, because she's going through the exact same thing I am, but she's now done this. This is her third time with 4 kids. So we have a group chat with Nia, Danny, and Luke and I. And even if I'm texting Nia one-on-one, she'll reel it back to the 4 of us. And she's like, well, Daniel really wants to be involved. And it's just really great to have the 2 of them, because, like I said, as they're going through the same thing, they have all the best advice to give in the world. No, I mean, I really did not know what to expect. I think I expected the worst and hoped for the best. I was definitely really afraid of, like, just giving birth. I was afraid of the aftermath. I was afraid of any complications that could happen. Like, I just didn't know what to expect. You can have all your friends tell you, you can watch all the videos. Like, I am so lucky that my friends have showed me their birth videos. It does not matter, because your birth story is your birth story. And for us, I was induced a week early. That was a conversation that we had with my doctor right when we found out I was pregnant. And it was something my doctor said. He said, the only thing he'll ever tell me about my age, being that I'm 42, is that he does not like to go past the due date when you're over the age of 40. So we chose to go early if she wasn't going to come early on her own. And so it was kind of really nice that we had the hospital bag packed. We're like, we basically have a check-in, in the evening at the hospital. And they did all of the things I knew they were going to do with induction, like the balloon and the Pitocin and all of that. And I think total labor was maybe like 14 hours, which it sounds crazy and long, but now that I understand what that includes, which is like, it felt like I was there for a few hours. It's like, this takes a really long time and this takes a really long time. And you're kind of just hanging out in bed waiting for the next thing. And we had a little like Pitocin mishap where all of a sudden my contractions were slowing down. And I don't know this because I'm just sitting there going, you guys tell me when. And I had an epidural, so I feel absolutely nothing, which is phenomenal. And that was my plan. It was like, give me all the stuff. I don't want to feel pain. I am not that girl that's like, I'm going to do a natural home birth. And no, that's so, yeah. So we were just kind of hanging out. And then my nurse had switched my IV to a different arm because we realized the contraction slowed down. So she's like, let's switch IVs. We'll do the Pitocin in the other arm. And about 20 minutes later, they came to check on me, and I had dilated from a 4 to a 10 immediately. And they said, let's do a practice push. Okay, she's coming. Don't push anymore. We need to wait for a delivery cart. We're grabbing your doctor. It is go time. And so just like that, it was like, get ready, rock and roll. Here we go. And I pushed for 9 minutes, and there she was. Luke was right here to my left, holding my hand, my doctor, the amazing nursing staff. And they're all just saying the same thing. Luke and my doctor are like just staring at each other in the eye, and Luke's repeating what my doctor's saying. And they're just like, okay, go, push, push, push. And I'm like, I think I am. I have an epidural. I have no idea if I'm even doing the right thing, but like, I think I'm doing it. And they're like, no, you're doing it. And I know she's laying on my chest. It was just perfect. And then they weighed her. Luke cut her umbilical cord. They went to weigh her, and Luke's across the room from me, and he goes, oh my gosh, she almost rolled over. So she reached over and grabbed the side, like the plexiglass side of the weighing station, and like tried to roll herself over at minutes old. It's crazy. Absolutely. And when we had fertility struggles, I mean, you see on the Valley this season, you'll see our fertility journey. We got pregnant 2 weeks after we wrapped filming. And you'll see us meet with our fertility doctor and me struggle with the word infertile. It was a really difficult word to hear because I'm sitting here going like, well, no one told us we can't have a baby. And in my mind, that's what that means. But it really just means it's like if it takes you a year or more to get pregnant, then they consider it that you're infertile. So it's a scary sounding word, but it's not as scary as it sounds. To each their own. But I do think if it's something a woman feels comfortable about sharing, I absolutely push everyone to do so, because the more women that I got to read their stories, it made me feel safer and more comfortable to share my story. And the more I shared my story, the more feedback we got, and like just so much gratitude from women all over the country, all over the world, just saying like they never thought that they would feel so understood. I mean, again, like I feel really lucky. I feel really fortunate, but just that like you just have to trust. I mean, if it's God, if it's the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, like you just have to trust the plan and kind of take it day by day and see how things go. It's really easy to think the worst, because for me, especially after us having a pregnancy loss the year before, it's really easy to start duping yourself into thinking like this is impossible. And it's easier to think it's not going to happen because I don't want to get my hopes up. And if I get my hopes up and then I'm let down, I protect, it's like I need to protect myself. But manifesting the best thing that can happen. And once you're pregnant, manifesting an easy labor, like why think that it's going to be scary and bad and everything's going to go wrong? If it happens, it happens. And you have to take that with a grain of salt, take it step by step. But it's so much healthier, a much healthier mindset to say, no, this is going to be good. We have each other's backs. Everything's going to be amazing. Everything's going to go swimmingly and great. So what I know moving forward, like we would love to have a second if that's possible for us. I'm sure we'll need the help again with our fertility doctor, which let's rock and roll. I'm super down. I hope that, we're that lucky, but I also feel like I know what to expect a little bit more next time around. I think it was just really scary of being like, I was very vocal, like on my podcast and on social media, like my first trimester was really awful. And I did get some negative feedback of people being like, I mean, how dare you say that it's hard? At least you can have a baby. But I want women to know that it is okay to feel like shit. And it is okay to not enjoy your pregnancy. And it doesn't mean you don't love your baby. Kylie Kelsey's podcast, I remember when she first started her podcast and she was pregnant with her fourth, and she said she hated being pregnant, and she has 4 kids, but she was like, it's a means to an end. You don't have to enjoy the pregnancy to be grateful to have the baby. Oh, 100%. After our pregnancy loss, I was like, this is it. Like, what are we even going to do? Luke and I had talked about this well before we were living together even. I'm like, I'm 8 years older than him. It was like, well, what if none of it works? What if we try every last thing and none of it works? And he was still standing by me because I'm like, he could go be with anyone. He could be with a younger girl. He could go marry a young girl that is super fertile myrtle and not have to like deal with my geriatric infertile ass, And he was just down to stay with me. He loved me, and he was like, we'll figure it out as we go. Yeah. So I don't know. I just feel lucky. I mean, Luke is like someone, I say this a lot, but like he's someone who really lives in neutral. I am not someone who lives in neutral. Like I am roller coaster, high and low. I'm super happy or I'm really anxious. And he's just kind of very even keeled. And that's how he was throughout our entire fertility journey. It was just, he was there to like, just keep me calm. He allowed me to cry. He allowed me to be upset. He allowed me to feel all of the feelings, but at the same time, never let me live like in that low. And I think that was the most important part, was to like keep our hopes up, but not say like, oh, get over it, or like, it's going to be fine. Like, I don't even know why you're upset about it, or things like that. Cause that's like my self-talk was, I should be so grateful right now. What am I being sad about? Or the opposite. Like it shifted so much, and him being so even keeled was really helpful. Oh yeah, going to the ER. I mean, I was going to say first trimester, it was really low. First trimester was just so, it was awful. I was terrified of, it felt like everything that I had ever done in therapy went out the window. I felt like all these tricklings and these inklings of like the old Kristen of like when I'm in my 20s that didn't know how to handle my feelings. It was like all my tools in my toolkit were gone. And I was so scared in being with someone so wonderful who I'm truly going to spend the rest of my life with. And I'm like, wait, this isn't who I am. But now I'm just freaking out at every given moment. I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm yelling at him, I'm taking things out on him. He has no idea. He's like, I don't know who you are. And I was like, I don't know who I am. And it was mostly hormones because we did IUI. I was on a lot of extra hormones my first trimester. But in the moment, I didn't, even though I knew it, I couldn't like accept that that was true. And then we had a scare around 13 weeks that I talked about pretty publicly, that I started bleeding. We had to go to the ER, and they basically kind of call it like a possible miscarriage, even though we did hear the heartbeat. We saw her on the ultrasound. It was like they kind of leave you with like, you could go home and still not make it. Like the baby could not make it. So that was the most terrifying thing, being that we were so much further along than we had been the first time around. We now have this actual heartbeat and this actual little fetus inside of me. And like, what if we lost that? So just puts a lot of things into perspective.